Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Lewis with We Are Winter Garden, and welcome to episode 33 of Straight Talk, No BS with Matthew's Hope. On this episode, we will be discussing When Helping Hurts. So I'm joined by Pastor Scott, who is the founder and CEO of Matthew's Hope, as well as Shelley Bradford, who is the president and the executive director of Matthew's Hope. So Scott, the last time we talked, you were the president. Now Shelley's the president. What's going on?
Shelley did a coup.
Oh.
And in the middle of the night, next thing I knew, I wasn't president anymore.
Just
Shelley has earned the position and the right to play a bigger part. And it's not that she didn't play a big part before, but I felt it was really important that our supporters, our volunteers, our staff, and our donors, what have you, that they understood that they didn't always need to get to me. Shelley can handle most everything that we do just fine by herself.
Definitely.
So want to make sure that people knew that. And I have to look at the future as well. Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure that as we move forward as an organization, that there is somebody to sit in my chair if and when I'm gone.
And there's 2 locations, Brevard and Orange. That's a lot.
We got a lot going on.
Coverage.
A lot of people don't realize that we literally have doubled in size over the past 2 years. And from a financial standpoint, that's a lot to carry on. But you just look at the number of buildings that we have now. Here where we're at right now, we're on 6 acres, 38,000 square feet of building. Right now we're sitting in the new bridal suite we just put together so that we can have a venue here to support the ministry. But there's a lot. We've got rentals, we got mortgages, we got a lot of things. I think by the end of the week, I think we're going to be at something. I think we're about 18 vehicles. So there's a lot going on. Right. And a lot of times my brain is just not capable of dealing with it all.
Definitely. So Shelley, what's the significance to you?
You hear how she just said, yeah. like she knows,
it's no big deal. What are you talking about?
Well,
right. I got this. I'm president.
His brain really can't handle that. So.
Well, I'm glad Shelley's president then. What does this promotion mean to you, Shelley?
In what way? Dang, I didn't expect it.
Okay.
At least not yet. We had talked about it in the future. So it's a heavy burden sometimes, but it's okay. I'm ready for it. I knew what I signed up for when I came.
Well, you haven't been president for very long, so I'm sure you're not sure.
Right. I'm still settling in.
Yes.
I got promoted and then went on vacation.
Hey, that's presidents do.
She got out of Dodge like the next day.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that worked out well.
All jokes aside, there is a lot on your plate. And you will be handling a lot. And I believe with Scott that you can do this job really well. So did you imagine that you would be here when you first started this position? I know before in previous episodes, we talked about how you came on to Matthew's Hope, but did you ever imagine that you would be here as president of Matthew's Hope?
No, I actually didn't seek it out and I didn't, but I am up for the challenge for sure. And I think I'll be fine.
I think you're the woman for the job.
But I didn't come in thinking I would be anything more than, I thought maybe someday I'd be an advocate because that's what I went to school for, but I didn't certainly think I would be here today.
Me neither.
Signing checks.
And Scott, where
I'm still trying to figure out what happened.
How will your role change in all of this?
I think that I don't know how much it will change as a whole, but allow me to be more focused on the things that I need to be focused on. I've always been the guy who kind of cast the vision of what Matthew's Hope was going to be. And so a lot of my time, even as of late, is really trying to make sure we're all continuing to row in the same direction, that everybody understands what our mission is. And Shelley definitely understands that. And she mentioned not seeking it out. It sought her out. It really did. God maneuvered that himself, because it was like, this is when you give birth to something, and you both have children, which I can't compare it to because men go through a lot tougher things. But
excuse me.
So those of you on the radio,
on the radio,
don't get up all fired. Whatever. Whatever. But I said radio, right?
You did.
Yeah. Well, that just shows my age.
Great.
I'm going to go play my 8-track here in a few minutes. It was one of those things where. It wasn't like I was giving a whole lot of thought about it. I had talked to her a little bit about what things look like going into the future. But it was just clear as day. now's the time. Do this right now. And so God really settled my spirit, because the fact that I'm not a micromanager. However, I'm very set on how I want things to work around here and what it looks like. And I think my trust in Shelley is she gets it. She knows when to come back at me and say, have you thought about this?
Yeah.
But she also picks her time and appropriateness of it as well.
Definitely.
Not all people do that.
Right.
And so she has my ear no matter what she says to me. And there's times we disagree, or, I'll sit there and go, well, thank you very much, and this is what we're going to do. But at the same time, I will tell you that not only has Shelley been well trained, but God has definitely put her in a place to where she can put up with me and gets me, and that's a job in itself, because she knows a lot of times that I will say things to her that I won't say to anybody else. And be able, I'm comfortable and safe in doing that with her, and having her help me sort it out, or sometimes just be a sounding board. I don't think I'm ever going to be out of the line of fire. I don't think that's going to change. And I'm willing to accept that role. But at the same time, it is nice to have a partner that you can sit there and go, all right, you know what? I'm feeling it today. Where are we going to go with this?
Right. Well, congratulations to you both, because I'm sure she's going to be a huge help. So this topic is when helping hurts. Shelley, can you explain a little bit more what that means? When helping hurts.
Wouldn't it be really bad right now if I said no?
Scott.
I mean, there's so many times that people in society think that they are helping when they give $1 outside their window, or when we enable people, such as our guest, and not have them work for it themselves. And if we and I need to probably bring that down to a more elementary level, because I talk Matthew's Hope Speak so often. But the simplest thing is giving money out your window. What are they going to do with $2? They're going to go buy drugs. How are we teaching people to be self-sufficient and independent if we don't give them the resources to seek out the help themselves, and we just do it for them?
Definitely.
That's not helpful at all.
Right.
That's not how you teach people how to be independent. And I think that's the most important thing.
Right.
Yeah, and I've often said, doing the wrong thing for the right reason is still the wrong thing. There's actually a book out called When Helping Hurts, which is a required reading for our employees, and should be a required reading for anybody that's serving in the mission field, working in the church, working for any kind of nonprofit, because you cannot let your heart get ahead of your head. God gave us a brain to think with, and what often happens is that it happens all the time. A woman just told me about today. She met this guy that needed, he's down and out in his luck, and next thing you know, she's inviting him in to work around her house. Now he's hanging around her house all the time, and he's not created a problem for her yet, but you could tell that there was an uneasiness about the situation, that she wanted to help this person,
right.
And now she's wondering if she got a little bit in over her head. And I'm going to tell you that 99% of the time, if you bring someone to your home, is going to turn out poorly.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's not how you're going to help them.
Right.
That's putting a Band-Aid on something that needs a tourniquet. And so when you can partner with an organization like Matthew's Hope, or others around the country that are out there, you make it possible to truly help someone move forward, because we got to move them forward towards that independence and self-sustainability.
Right.
Otherwise, you've just simply made them a ward of the state, a ward of your ministry, whatever you want to call it. And that's what we see, so much damage being done, that often then we got to come in behind someone who's tried to help that way, and
do it. Really,
it's hard. It makes it a lot harder
to
because
reteach people.
Yeah.
And I say yes because I was in that position when I first met you, because I remember talking to you because I was trying to help and bringing people into the home or into our car or giving them money, like panhandling, which is an example of it. And you've taught me so much, and that's what I love about this podcast, because you guys have pastor bucks. If somebody wants to give on the street or as they're walking by somebody, go to Matthew's Hope gets pastor bucks, right?
Yeah.
Like $5 pastor bucks, they can come in. Or if they're needing housing, maybe they're a candidate for the transitional housing, maybe not, but at least you guys can assess the situation and help them, take one step at a time and get into that program, if they're willing to work for it and whatnot.
Most of the time, what's taken place with these folks didn't happen overnight. I jokingly say I didn't wake up fat one day. That was a process, okay? And it's been a process
one donut at
losing
a time.
it. And so it's the same thing with folks is there's no quick answer. There's no magic wand. There's a process. And that's where our advocates play such a big role. And not only just advocating for them, but also the interview process goes on for years. Because as we learn more, we figure out what tools are not yet in their toolbox. So they have those tools necessary to be able to do what they need to do for themselves, as opposed to your taxpayer dollars paying for everything they do.
So you're speaking of tools in their tool belt, and you guys, your slogan is help us, help them, help themselves. Why is that important?
Well, I think that, anytime you do, I learned how to ride a bike. I remember my grandfather taking me down a hill back in the old days when they used to put sidewalks in.
He really threw you into it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Down a hill.
He did. Took me down a hill.
Good luck, kid.
lined with oak trees. Okay.
Gets even better.
Back then they used to, I'm just old enough, they used to, when they laid a sidewalk out, it wasn't one big piece with a line brought into it. It was literally a chunk of concrete. So what would happen over time as they'd settle, that concrete would get uneven. Okay. And so it made for a hell of a ride. But I got to tell you what, when you realize you're coming down that hill with those trees to your left and a road that's doing this, or a sidewalk in front of you, okay, and then the other side, you have like this little hump that was there, you pretty much figure out how to ride that bike really quick. I learned how to swim by being thrown in a pool. No one took me to a swim lesson. They threw me in a pool, and guess what? I made my way back to the top. Now, I'm not suggesting, and please do not send me nasty grams saying I suggest you throw your kids in the pool. That's not what I'm saying.
I mean, that's the way our parents did it.
But the truth is, my survival instincts came from those situations. My life, in my mind, was in danger, and therefore I had to react to that, and it made me stronger in doing so.
So back to the slogan with helping them help themselves. How does Matthew's Hope play into that slogan?
Just that. We actually make sure that we give them the tools to move forward. We give them the phone numbers to call. We give them the literature to read. We help them decide to grow on their own.
Love that.
We can't want it more than them.
We can't want it more than them. Right.
But you guys give them the tools, such as the workshop.
Yes.
Right? Is that one example that they can come in and they can, learn some new skills?
And over here we have the kitchen now.
Okay.
Where we
Speak about that a little bit for Brevard County.
So we're in Brevard County right now. And over here we actually have a full industrial size kitchen. And we've hired somebody who actually every morning that we serve teaches our guys how to meal prep and how to.
That is so cool.
How to, what's it called? I'm like so not a cook. Give me peanut butter
I know,
jelly.
like chef, but like preparing.
Yeah, he's actually a chef,
and
he shows them to cook. But what they do, what's very interesting is it's now going 5-6 days a week.
Okay.
And what he's doing there, he has a couple different guys he's working with. And the one is knew how to cook, but he's learning how to expand that.
I love that.
Okay. The other one had nothing to do with it.
And uses creativity, I'm sure, where he hasn't been able to do that.
No, he's been like a line cook, and now he's being taught how to actually prepare full meals.
Very cool.
And for large groups. But the other guy we have, Chris, that's in there a lot, is he actually had him debone a ham the other day. And he learned how to debone that ham and then cut it into chunks and what have you, so it could be used a certain way. And the next thing I know, a few days later, I watched him quarter out a chicken.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never even quartered out a chicken.
Maybe we need to go stand with
so
him.
These skills that they're learning, they can then go out and take their steps forward.
And it gives us a chance. What a lot of people don't understand, it gives us a chance also to witness their work ethic.
Their abilities.
So that when somebody does call here and they say, who do you all have that can pass a drug test, that has a strong work ethic, and he's either trainable or has a particular skill set?
And we definitely get those calls.
I love those connections. Those are so
Yes.
important just in life in general, but for them to have that's pretty
Mhm.
amazing. Shelley, can you explain a little bit the Moving Forward program? What does that look like? Who are candidates? What are kind of the steps that happen with moving forward?
I feel like we're repeating ourselves on this very thing, just because it's somebody who wants to grow, wants to better themselves. In future episodes, you're going to be reintroduced to Shannon, and
Okay.
she was one person that came in and took Matthew's hope and the help that we gave her by the horns. And there were many times I was like, we need to tell her to slow down. She needs to slow down.
Yeah.
And because she wanted to,
Mm.
move so fast. So, but then we also have some people who want us to do the work for them, and that's not going to help either. So the Moving Forward program is you come in, you work, you show us your work ethic. We teach you, we see if, you have to do life skills classes, you have
Okay.
to do Bible study, you do have to attend church weekly, and whether you're a Christian or not, we want you to at least go and have that respite for those couple of hours a week.
Definitely.
There's a curfew. There's so much to the Moving Forward program. It's not just, you're not just put in home, and you have to be willing to move forward. You have to be willing to want to, grow and live on your own and live independently. We are not a landing spot for someone, and if that's what we're being used for, that's not our.
And it won't last long.
Yeah.
In this program, does that include the transitional housing?
Yes.
And has transitional housing happened in Brevard County yet, or is it's still just in Orange County?
Permitting process right now for the units we're going to build. However, we are currently renting a condo that a couple of our guys have worked their way into. We've had another house that we've worked with, and so we're looking at those opportunities. The challenge is often for us is finding something close enough to the campus that one, we can easily manage, but they can also easily get to us.
Yeah.
And we typically need to work with someone who is a private owner, so that we can explain to them what we're doing and that we're taking the responsibility for it. It's become more challenging since the pandemic to help people get into housing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when we can meet that owner and help them understand what we do, most are blown away by it, and most have said yes to us and allowed us to. And we've got places over in Orange County now that we've been renting for 8-9 years,
Nice.
because we're the perfect
Candidate.
tenant.
Yeah.
Because they know they're going to get their check every month, and they know
Right.
we're going to take care of the place, and that we
Right.
have a lot of accountability,
That's great.
and that changes everything.
Is there anything you guys want to add when helping hurts? A story or advice for anyone who's listening or watching? Maybe somebody who they're thinking of somebody now that they always walk past them on the street, or maybe it's a family member of theirs, or maybe it's a friend, or what have you. What advice could you give them?
I'm going to give the best example I can get, because people ask me all the time. Is I'm my own brother. Okay, he's 11 years younger than I am. He's getting ready to turn 51 here in May, and my mom has helped him every time he's been in a jam. One, it's been very difficult for my mom, but on the other side of it is Jason's never learned how to take care of himself. And though I don't believe he always intends to manipulate, he's constantly in the stage of manipulation. We get calls all the time. I personally get calls. People have learned my story and call me and want me to save their adult son or daughter. And the first thing I say to them, well, if they really want help, they need to call me.
Yes.
That's the first thing. But the second thing is that you got to be willing to let people walk. People let their emotions direct things at times. People are going to say and do stupid things. That's just who we are as a whole. But the other side of it is when you let that person say ugly things to you, and therefore you try to meet their need, you've set a precedence that you're never going to get away from. I spoke to another woman this week, and she goes, "Can I?" I was at a chamber event. She goes, "Can I ask you some advice?" And I always love when that happens. And I go, "Well, I'll try as best I can." And she went on about a friend of her and her husband's, that he was a fraternity brother of his, and the guy's never, he's 50 years old now, and never been able to hold down a job. But every time he called someone, he used the fraternity brother aspect of it. And she goes, "My husband's just done." And so what happens? It went from, "I want to help you," to, "I just don't even want you to be around me."
Yeah.
You want to find some place in the middle there that doesn't let the relationships get destroyed, because once they're destroyed, they're very hard to repair.
rebuild. Yeah.
That is really good advice. Leave it up to you guys, because you guys have the process, you have the tools, and you're experienced in this.
I mean, we've actually sat down at times with family members and stuff, and and been the what's the word?
Mediator.
Mediator in working that out. Because again, when you've lost somebody's trust because you've stolen from them, or you've taken advantage of them, that's really hard to get back.
Yep.
And so sometimes it takes us getting involved and seeing what we can do to help. But then again, trying to keep those loved ones or friends at bay.
Sure.
And say, okay, just like with my mom, I said, "Mom, you tell him you love him. If you want to say you're praying for him," I said, "even if you want to do something for him, figure out what it is you want to do. If it's $25 a month, and that's what it is. I'm going to send you $25 a month. Don't ask for anything else. It's never going to happen." And what happens is, when you do that with people, eventually they will start working their way out of the hole. But what happens with some of these folks, they just jump from one person to the next, because what happens is you get fed up, and so now they go to you. And then you get fed up, they find someone. Well, when they finally got everybody tired of them, is usually when the repair work starts to happen.
And so they'll start moving forward. Shelley, Matthew's Hope is a large operation. So how are you funded?
We are funded by just the common person.
By the grace of God.
Yeah. Some days I pray a lot. Or just like you and me, people just like you and me. In Orange County, we did accept a grant, and a pretty large grant from Orange County. And, that's been its own set of challenges. There's always going to be a challenge when you accept a grant and try to figure out how to manage that. But we're really just funded by common donors, just like you and myself.
And then you guys have volunteers come in. Is that an option for people if they want to help? And
Absolutely.
I think one of our challenges from since the pandemic changed so many things.
Yeah.
We've never recovered the number of volunteers we had prior to the pandemic.
Yeah, I remember they used to be everywhere.
Yeah, we were having to try to find stuff for them to do.
Yes.
And today, I think part of it is, we're, over 700 visits a week now between our two locations, and we're probably going to blow through that this week. My mobile team here in Brevard this week had 76 people they saw.
Oh my gosh.
Outside of here, and 20 of them were brand new. And that has those kind of numbers. We've had a few numbers. We've been building up to that kind of number. And you start to look at that and you go, okay, how do you finance that? How do you have, I feel like I'm begging sometimes for volunteers. But we are, because we're not as big as we look.
So donations, volunteers, items. I've seen on your guys' Facebook page and on your website the specific items that you guys need, like small items, pop top. And then the fall fundraiser. There's an annual fall fundraiser coming up. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, or is it too early?
No. I think we can kind of put it out there. I mean, we've had the garden party for years. This past year we changed it up just because so many people had copied us. It's like, who wants to keep going to the same party at somebody else's place? Right. So last year we did Steampunk meets the Wild Wild West. And this year we're going to, on September 28th, we're actually going to do the Roaring 20s, which should be a lot of fun. We're just announcing that now. Okay. So that should be a lot of fun. We try to find things that are just, we've already talked to a band that does Roaring 20s music. We'll have gaming tables and we'll have all kinds of fun stuff. So it should be a really good time. That's
great. So look for on Facebook and website for more details to come on in that. And that's in September
28th.
All right. Well, thank you, Pastor Scott. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Please like, subscribe, share, because we really hope to get the word out there on how we can help so it's not hurting, and how we can, as a community, assist Matthew's Hope as well. So we will see you next time.